Welcome to Rush the Field, episode number 7, presented by Mr. Tegan, or whatever you want to call me today. How you doing today? Let's talk about some sports. Let's talk about some takes. We got a lot to talk about today. First things first, I gotta shout this out. HEB sweetened peach sparkling water. We're gonna have that just in the frame enough. For the short form videos, you're not gonna see it. So if you are here for the first time, feel free to leave a like, sub. This is a very much laid back podcast format. This is a recorded version. We are usually doing a live streamed version, but primarily kind of doing a little hard pivot, a little ISO into the recorded version because I can segment off the show a little bit better. And I have a feeling it's going to come off a lot smoother as we get through this into the 7th episode and moving forward. The goal is to get the 30 by the end of the year. I think that's very much achievable. We're into March, the very end of March. And I honestly think as football season gets closer and closer, the episodes are going to ramp up and be a little bit more, like, I guess, cohesive or like a little bit more formatted. But the takes are still going to be kind of out of pocket and a little uh, out of left field. But that's kind of the point of this show, is that I can kind of be as chaotic as rushing the field. A moment that I will never forget, and I honestly don't think I've said this on the show, is yeah, I think it's a relatively catchy title for a football show, and honestly, we end up pivoting, and we're going to talk about college basketball in this. So, is it really just football? Not really, but because I could call a separate show "Storm the Court," but that seems like a lot of lift of itself. Um, but I'll say this. So I was I've been in two situations where I've seen a field rush, or storming the field, or rushing the field. First time was, and both of them are in Kyle Field in College Station, or Texas A&M University. The first one was when they beat Alabama. They were unranked. I remember vividly sitting in a barbecue restaurant telling my dad, like, hey, if this, and that goes right, we could win this football game. And it was one of those situations where my dad kind of looks at me and goes, I love your optimism, but no. Like, this was the Haynes King year where I believe they struggled with Colorado. They came out pretty flat against, I think it's Sam Houston. And then on top of that, they ended up, what was it? Haynes King got hurt, and then Zach Calzada came into the fold, and he was not looking great up to that point. He ends up playing the best game of his career and ends up beating Alabama, becoming the first team since I think 2009 to beat Alabama as an unranked team. I was way too high up into the stands to actually be a part of that field rush, but it was really cool to see the visualization in person. The second time I got to participate, and that was during the 5-7 year, when the following year with Texas A&M really kind of the wheels were starting to fall off. That's, I think, Jimbo really started to feel the hot seat. Obviously, he gets let go the following year, but they played LSU. They knew they were not going to be in a bowl game, so they played LSU, who was, I mean, not realistically trying to get into the playoff, but had a really, really solid shot if they were to win that game and then beat Georgia. And many LSU fans try to say they were looking ahead. That's why they let this one slip. But I vividly remember having that game come in. There's so many true freshmen starting. Connor Wigman started, and Texas A&M really punched LSU in the mouth that game and ended up winning. And it kind of gave enough hope that Jimbo Fisher could potentially turn this around. You kind of blamed it all on the freshmen playing, when in reality, it was always Jimbo Fisher as the issue. And even then, when we're talking about that experience, it's chaotic. It's insane. I was not part of the crowd. If you follow A&M football close enough, you would know that there's people that rushed the field too early. There was still time on that clock, and I was not part of that crowd. But the once that final second went off, it was mania. I mean, I remember I got a picture with so many players, and really the one regret I have with that entire experience was how bad my beard looked. I had a massive beard that there is the reason why I will not grow out my facial hair as long as that picture showed. Still love those moments. They're never going to leave my camera roll, but that's like the one regret, and it was absolute mania. Yeah, you didn't beat the number one team, but with how much emotional, I guess, turmoil that season caused, I'll never forget rushing the field on that. But that's not bad for a little intro story to get this episode kicked off. I let's get into the first topic today. Not to completely stay on topic with Texas A&M related things, but let's talk about March Madness. I really do want to talk about what's going on with March Madness, as I am a basketball casual, so these takes may be on the casual end of things. But the first thing I want to talk about when we're talking about March Madness is, am I the only one that feels like these commercials just get worse and worse every single year? Like I don't think I should feel alone in that fact that they just suck. They just suck. Like, I cannot listen to this Buffalo Wild Wings commercial again. And like they tried to do the jingles and like the catchy tunes, and I blame Burger King so much for it. Obviously, they're not the ones that invented the jingle, but I feel like because of the popularity of the Whopper, 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 whatever crap that is, everyone needs to have a jingle. And the Wendy's commercial, I can't do it anymore, man. I just can't do it. The Super Bowl commercials, I get it. People have a lot more opinions on that. Like, those are commercials that will repeat themselves for like the entire month of February and moving forward. And those are a lot more like infrequent compared to like March Madness, which is a prolonged like TV event. So of course, you're going to see these more and more and more, but there's no variety in any of them, and they make me want to lose my mind. Like I have the multi view on YouTube TV. I swear there was a trifecta of the worst commercials all playing at the same time. I couldn't escape it. Like, I muted my TV. It was the best way to go. I cannot deal with the box out. Like, you're watching someone, me, lose their mind over commercials. I feel like an old man yelling at the sky, but it's the truth of it. They suck. But like, I still will love March Madness. I still will. Like, there's no way around it. Like, it I can't hate March Madness. It's one of my favorite times of the year. My bracket is cooked, toasted. Bye bye. See you later. You may be wondering how I got here. Shout out to the Coping Hour for that, because I can't stop saying it. Speaking of the Coping Hour, actually, and Nicholas Hinkle, aka Motown Noah, he read one of my emails today on his show, which was super, super cool. And it inspired a segment for this show that we are going to do for March Madness, because I don't have enough shows on my belt to create a drinking game for Rush the Field. I can, though, create a March Madness drinking game for the Sweet 16, Elite 8, and Final Four. Obviously, in a perfect world, I would love to do this for the round of 64 because there's just so many more games and it was more of an event. But I still think there's plenty of opportunity for these games. And I think on the fly, there's no notes, so we're going to talk this one out. The best way to make a drinking game for March Madness is you got to take the the commercial aspect. Every single time the Buffalo Wild Wings commercial pops up, take a sip. Real simple. Just little things like that. You could even say that this one's a good one. If a walk-on player gets any playing time, or if a Caucasian player hits a really tough layup and they call him sneaky athletic or real crafty with the basketball, that's a sip. If they say they play the right way, that's a sip. A good one is also, I would say, especially with any Houston game, anytime they cut to Jim Nance, that's a sip. Anytime Charles Barkley says a take and it goes wrong or it's incorrect, that's a shot. because he just be like, at this point, Charles Barkley just shoots so many shots, and they like, it's like his 3-point percentage from his career. They just all are bad takes. They're all bad shots. I would also throw out take a sip every single time that the commentator mentions how like fundamentally sound they are. Just talks about like the true fundamentals. That's a great one. And it really could be specific to the matchup and the team. Like anytime a during a Duke game they mention like Tyler Hansborough. Oh wait, no, that's UNC. I just committed a really bad crime. I just got a Duke player mixed with a UNC player. Please don't crucify me. Please don't. No one's going to see this. It's fine. We keep it pushing. I know this was a very much not detailed. Ooh, I like this one. Anytime they cut to a player's parents, that's a good one. I saw that all day yesterday. Anytime they mention a player's upbringing, that's a good one. And we are going to be doing this segment, and I'm going to fill out. This is kind of like the test, a little warm up run, because this isn't really a basketball show. So I think that there's people that really watch every single moment for March Madness can attest to it. But the NFL draft, I'm going to cook up the meanest drinking game for the NFL draft, and I cannot wait for it because I was sitting in the car today and I just thought of so many potential options, so many good choices that could be like sips or whatever. But we'll keep it pushing when we're talking about March Madness and finish it out on my thoughts with Texas A&M. I didn't care about anything else. My bracket could get literally like 0 picks right, which is remarkable in of itself. Also, shout out to Bijan for like having a damn near perfect first couple picks, like first rounds. I will say this: Texas A&M basketball takes years off my life. They're a really good baseball school. I tune in for if they make the World Series. Very casual baseball fan here. I'll never deny that. They look really good. I'm very excited. Football, diehard fan. Like right there is a Texas A&M helmet that was sitting right there on my table last night because I did not expect them to beat Nebraska. There's just something to be said with Texas A&M basketball. I had no faith that they would beat Nebraska. Just a sniper of a 3-point shooter. The Penn State thing gave me enough trauma where we got blitzed by 3. So I thought Nebraska. Also, Trev Alberts, the athletic director, went from Nebraska to A&M. It was just setting up for a Nebraska dunk, but then I forget Nebraska's more cursed than Texas A&M. But then they play Houston, or they get matched up with Houston, and we did match up really well from against them. We've played them before. Texas A&M was down, I believe, 21 and made it a close game last time they played. This was before conference play, real early into the season. I believe Wade Taylor had an incredible game. And there's people that are like on Wade Taylor's head. I get it. It's a nationally televised game. Incredible ending. And Wade just had some really tough shots, but A&M would not be in that position without him. I was texting in group chats. I said, listen, you live and die by Wade Taylor. He was their offense. Like, I love all the other pieces. Tyrese Radford, I'm heartbroken that was his last game. Like, I'm not saying it was just like Wade Taylor and a bunch of scrubs, but like Wade Taylor was a critical the guy that got us there, and you live and die by his shots because he makes some of them. The shot selection was rough to watch, and as much as people want to put it on his shoulders, you make your free throws, man. That's the heart-wrenching part. Is free throws have been an issue for this team, and if you're not aware, they were down 12 to Houston with like a minute left. They had come back with Alex Caruso. People forget Daniel House was actually on that team. Shout out Daniel House. key role player for those Rockets teams, and they come back incredibly, and they get to overtime. They start fouling out the Houston players that were all at like 4 fouls. Like they had the calls going their way. I don't want to hear anything about how Jace Carter like potentially had his foot in bounds. If that's what you're worried about, worry more about missing your free throws, because that's you just like you there's so many times where you don't get the calls, and if you don't take advantage of it, you are really missing an opportunity. And now it's such an interesting spot because there's a divided fan base, it feels like, with A&M on Buzz Williams, and I feel like the national like perception of him is a lot higher than what internally people feel with A&M and Buzz Williams. And I like Buzz. I was low on him when they lost 5 games, but I think because A&M is so reactionary and they know they have so many resources that it could be maximized. And are you really wanting to settle for being a bubble team potentially? I understand. I'm like going on a full ISO with it, but I could not be more proud of these guys. It just I was sitting there. No, I wasn't even sitting. I was standing, pacing in my apartment, saying, please miss a shot. You may be like, well, aren't you wanting them to win? I didn't want them to give me hope. And right when I was just like practically begging them to just miss a shot, Houston, make something, just put them away, force me to sit on this couch and accept the loss. And they got me all the way to overtime, all the way to the very end. And then it was, I think it was that Wade Taylor deep logo three that airballed. I was just like, it's just not going to happen. If it was going to happen, that shot would have gone in. And I was heartbroken. That was so to go from like literally not expecting to get to the second round to okay, we got a potential shot at the number 1 seed. Every favorite has been winning up to this point, and then we lose off of coming back from 12 with a minute left. I mean, that is the A&M sports experience. People act like I have become so skeptical with this team, and then every time they reel me back in, every time, man. But let's keep it pushing. Let's keep it pushing. You see this, you hear about this. Shout out to Motown Noah. Not to continuously talk about Shedeur Sanders, but he did make a press conference comment, and I have some thoughts on it. To make the shot at Texas 6A high school football players, and what Deion is saying about how Shedeur and Travis Hunter are going to take the Eli Manning approach, it's just kind of, I don't know, man. I get it. So here's my thoughts. I said it in a shorter formed video, and this may end up being posted as a little like segment of this show so I can kind of expand my thoughts in real time. First thing first, like people even in my own TikTok comments said that Deion Sanders is LeVar Ball. No. LeVar, if he was the head coach, the head basketball coach for UCLA, and he ended up getting LiAngelo and LaMelo to both play at those schools, and maybe like a 5-star recruit. I don't know who would have been a 5-star during their classes. It's been a minute, but and he was like, yeah, these guys are going to be top 4 picks. That would be more similar. I get it. He's their dad. You see the correlation, but Deion is running a football program. And I think it's so weird that like I guess people kind of like are forgetting like Deion's still going to be coaching after Shedeur and Travis leave. Like, pardon me. Like he's still going to be coaching. So it's not like this is just going to go away. So of course he wants these guys to go higher, because the higher that these guys go in the draft, he could go to recruits or transfer openings or whatever and just say, "Hey, I took these 2 guys that were starters at Jackson State. Whether you say they should have been starting at Jackson State or not the point. He's selling a pitch. You're supposed to lie a little bit." So he goes to the recruit, 5-star recruit, and says, "Hey, I'm Deion Sanders." "Oh my God, you're Deion Sanders. Well, can I go to your house?" Because Deion also made a comment about how he doesn't go to other teams or other recruits' houses, that they want to go to his. Fair, Deion, you do you. Okay, can I go to your house? Okay, we're going to your house. All right, kid. I'm not doing a Deion Sanders impression. Not doing that. All right, kid. I took my son, Shedeur, who was not this highly touted recruit coming out of high school. He went and played for Jackson State. He came and played for me. He's going to go end up being a top 4 pick. Or he at this in this scenario, he was a top 4 pick. Even for the like what Deion said himself and what benefits him the most. Shedeur went number 1. And then I was able to convince Travis Hunter, the number 1 recruit in the nation, to leave Florida State, my alma mater, and go play for Jackson State, and then follow me to Colorado, and then be a top 5 pick. What do you think is going to happen if you come play for me in the Big 12 for 3 years? I mean, he needs to build credibility. That's what Deion needs. So, of course, wanting his kids to go, or the best players on his team to go very high, helps his credibility. Because outside of the fact that he's just Deion Sanders, I assume it's just going to be basically giving free candy to children. Like, it's just going to be so easy to just, like, I don't know. Hey, I'm Deion Sanders. Also, I can develop you into a top 5 pick and get you to the best connections in the world. Pretty simple sell to me. People are already super infatuated with Deion Sanders and his aura in Colorado and what they're building. So the better they do, the better that his life is going to get. It's that simple. It's not a LeVar Ball thing. Of course, LeVar wants some of those things, but he's not building a football program or a basketball program. He just wanted what's best for his kids. Of course, he's going to think his kids could beat like Michael Jordan like he thinks he could. So that comparison's weird. The Eli Manning approach, I said it on TikTok, I don't care. Couldn't give less of a shit. Like it does not matter to me that he wants to pick and choose which city it is. All I care about is how the fans perceive it. And honestly, what interests me the most recently is how fans are perceiving Shedeur right now, because he made a comment about how very much he was like, I don't see a lot of 6A Texas high school football kids around. What? What are you talking about? I'm sorry. If you are not aware, you don't follow recruiting or you don't follow high school football. 6A is the largest, I believe. I don't want to be like stood wrong, but like 6A is one of the largest like classes you can have in Texas, if not the largest. I don't believe there's a 7A. You don't see the guys that go to the biggest high school footballs like programs around. Like what are you talking about? Like, and I here's the thing. It's hard for fans to turn, like, people are already not fans of Colorado, but it's hard for even like fans of Shedeur and like Deion to turn on you. And they're doing that with Shedeur right now. Like, I think, yeah, any attention's good attention when we're talking about Colorado. But like some of the things that they're saying is just setting them up to fail, because realistically, the expectation, I believe, in their program and those locker rooms and those practice facilities, they believe they could go win the Big 12. I would love to be proved wrong. I don't think that's the case. I shouldn't think that's the expectation with Colorado, but they're talking a lot. And you know what? If they talk this much and they back it up, that's one thing. But man, they are setting themselves up right now. And like, listen, I fully expect it from Deion Sanders. Not saying like, oh, I would expect it from him. No, it's just that's his personality. That's what you were going to get from him as a football coach. That's what you're going to get from his kids. It's his blood. So like, none of this is shocking. It's just I'm fascinated to see, is he going to back it up? Like they can't start off hot and then fall off a cliff again. Yeah, they're bringing in some guys. They're going to rely a lot on the transfer portal class. Again, they do not have a high recruiting class. They're going to fully continuously build through the transfer portal. I don't know if it'll work. Uh, Very small sample size has shown that, yeah, you can really jumpstart, get maybe 1 to 2 extra wins from the transfer portal, but you still have to recruit. You could definitely help get yourself over the edge. It could be like reminds me of the NFL when you trade that piece, like when they trade like the Rams trade for Von Miller. You can get that in the transfer portal. You could get that winning piece in there, whether it's a quarterback or a skill position. I don't think you could build offensive and defensive lines from the transfer portal, but you know what? Colorado may prove me wrong. That's still my biggest concern. Outside of Pat Shermer, outside of all the media narratives, outside of the everything Deion has said, building through the trenches through the transfer portal. Yeah, they brought in someone from their recruiting class on the offensive line, 5-star. Uh, Great, awesome. That's one player. And I think if you really want to get this ball rolling, you got to be able to recruit consistently. And maybe he's just trying to build credibility, but it still concerns me that you couldn't have gotten that ball. You could not have gotten that ball rolling a little bit better in the year 2. Now it's very early in the process, but a red flag to me still. Let's do a quick little ISO on the NFL uniform rumors. I haven't really made a video about this because we still have to see the Broncos. They're getting new uniforms, and then the Jets announced it as well. Very interested with the Jets one. I think they should go back to the classic. I don't think they will. That's what scares me. But I really love the Mark Sanchez white helmets. Really wish they would go back to those. Those are just like when you think of the Jets, you think of those. You don't think of what they have right now. And I don't think that like that's an organization even with how bad they are. You don't have to rethink the wheel here. I would definitely potentially go backwards and go with those older uniforms. Um, for the Broncos, there's some interesting rumors with them. White helmets for the Broncos as like their primary go-tos. A lot of potential with them. I've been waiting for them to get a uniform redesign, so I'm very interested to see how that one plays out. But let's primarily talk about the one that has like one colorway has come out for the Houston Texans. And being someone that is from Houston, I don't like them. I just don't like them. If you were going to change what the Houston Texans were going to do, I would do a crazy rebrand. You have not redesigned since I think like you and like since the inception of the team. And it feels safe and it feels very much like the trend that they've been going towards. Like reminds me of the Falcons, reminds me of the Rams, and the Rams one grew on me, but the Falcons one I still don't like. I think they're cool. I want to see what the red ones are. That's my favorite, one of my favorite uniforms of all time. Everyone like, let's be real, okay? People can be real basic about their uniform preferences, especially no disrespect to MMG, one of like the Madden Mobile GOAT, and his list isn't even that bad. But like to name off every single team that had a throwback uniform this past year and say it's the best uniforms, I'm sorry. Hot take, Kelly Green uniforms are really cool. They're not the best uniforms of all time. There's better uniforms out there. I think there's better uniforms than the Kelly Green ones. Are they are they high up? Of course. They're great. They're awesome. But like some of the greatest uniforms of all time, like the Jets this year don't have to rethink the wheel. They could just go back to like the Mark Sanchez years. Like they don't have to rethink it. The Broncos, kind of let's get the ball rolling. Let's switch it up. Get a little dicey. Bring back like the giant like D logo with the horse coming out. That's fine. Texans, you have Space City. Like you could really get creative here. And realistically, they should have the Oilers uniforms, but I digress. Don't even get me started with that. I think their red uniforms are some of the most slept on uniforms in the league. They don't really get brought up as much as they should. The 99 JJ Watt jersey is still sitting in my closet. I would say out there, I know it's basic. The Seahawks one, I know I just said, oh my gosh, don't pick the same 3 teams that came out with throwbacks last year, but the Seahawks throwbacks should be permanent, in my opinion. Those Like I got to see those live and in person. Beautiful. Beautiful. I might just like red uniforms. I need to see the Giants bring back the red jerseys. Just need to see it happen. I don't think there's a lot of pushback on that. It should happen. I would also say, I mean, you know what? This might be the highest take of the video. It's a Chargers uniform, but the navy ones, the all navy ones are cool. I love those jerseys. I arguably, I don't know if I like them more than the powder blue, but they're up there. They're very, very much up there. And then I think some of the throwbacks with the 49ers, as much as I hate the 49ers, those are just clean. It's hard to mess up a 49ers uniform. But like get weird with it. Like the Dolphins ones are great. I think some of the throwback Bills ones are great. Don't be basic with Kelly Green. Come on. I think we as NFL fans, like that shouldn't be the standard best one ever. Don't let Philly fans bully you into thinking that's the best uniform of all time. What are some other good ones? I mean, yeah, Creamsicle. I think people back then did not like Creamsicle because of how bad the football team was. Because honestly, those are great. What are some other really good ones? I'm like trying to go through the list. I honestly, I'm gonna just throw this one out there. The the all white Browns ones might be better than the icy Bengals ones. Those are great. The Bengals ones are good. Those are great. No, I went a little uniform ISO, but some uniform news coming out. I cannot wait for college football to come out with those. Some of my favorite ones. I think they got banned. This was heartbreaking. Speaking of Houston, this was, I think, also. Let me get this take off. I'll quickly ISO. College football uniforms, I think, are the best uniforms regardless of sport. I think it's better than MLB. I think it's better than the NFL. I think it's better than basketball, especially basketball. Especially basketball. The NBA has fumbled the bag when it comes to jerseys. I'm still waiting for them to drop a good jersey. Outside of the H-Town like scribble that the Rockets have recently put out, they've missed. They've airballed jersey after jersey. The MLS don't even get me started. College football puts out peak jerseys. The good and the bad. You ever seen the Florida Gators? You ever see that jersey? You're looking at, like, if you are seeing this right now, you see it on your screen. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, it's like the gator skin jersey. It's so bad. It's comically bad, but at least they gave it a shot. I think the only thing that rivals college football jerseys is honestly minor league jerseys. Because minor league jerseys do not care. They are just trying to sell tickets. That is all they care about, and I love it. College football, like first one that comes to mind outside of like the catalog of Oregon ones, and it got banned, I think, because of trademark. And I could be wrong in this. The Houston Oilers, Houston Cougars like mashup, clean, just clean, just clean jersey after clean jersey. I did a video on TCU. TCU got some bangers of a jersey. The classic ones are even like just as good as the ones that you get today. And I think it's the like anytime they incorporate the old school logos into the jerseys are just You ever seen an Appalachian State uniform reveal? Clean. Just go to Ole Miss's like TikTok page. Every single time they're announcing their uniforms, it's just a dope video. Maybe because I'm just like down bad for really good like videography and edits, but the jerseys are just clean. Like I don't want to hear a single argument. We could have the whole debate about NFL and college football. College football got them beat in jerseys because they got no limits basically outside of maybe the trademark with the Oilers. There's zero art. You want to talk about Kelly Green? Womp womp. No. I'm sorry. I can name 20 jerseys from college football that are better than Kelly Green. Argue with a wall. Can't believe I've gone into the sparkling water train. It's Sweden, so does it really count? But we're gonna wrap up today's show. Doesn't mean that it's gonna just hard end right here. Pause. We're gonna finish up the show talking about we could talk about the NFL draft. I tend to leave this last topic really open because we've talked about March Madness. I don't Shohei Otani. We just got news that he's fully blaming the interpreter. I'm waiting for like more news on that. Opening day is this week. That's exciting. Um, because I get to watch my Astros once again fail me. You know what? Let's talk about something Houston related. When did people become let me restart. When did people become so lame about the whole Houston Rockets thing? I'm sorry. Like, this may be just complete bias of like someone being a Rockets fan desperately wanting to be like the vibes of what the OKC Thunder have. Like, I instinctually am not supposed to be a fan of the Thunder because they streamlined their entire rebuild. They're in the same conference. I still have vivid memories of KD and Russell Westbrook breaking my heart in playoff game after playoff game. I remember the Pat Bev Russell Westbrook injury thing, and that was a whole debate and ordeal. And I get it. There's a great chunk of people that want the Warriors' downfall to happen. But like, there's also the chunk of people that are like, Adam Silver's not going to allow this. Shut up, nerd. Jalen Green is doing no look threes. He's finally, but no, wait, I'm not going to do that. He is on the way to breaking the Jordan Clarkson narrative because that was heartbreaking to have to listen to and him just shot Chuck after shot after shot and he just kept getting the Jordan Poole, Jordan Clarkson allegations, and he might be breaking it. Now, what I need is for him and Alperen Sengun to actually coexist together and just keep this young core. Do like you don't I don't think they have to do a tweak next season. Keep developing. Like you don't go all in. This is not the time to go all in. You have Cam Whitmore, Amen Thompson, or Amen. Still give them time. Amen's so much fun. Amen Thompson is so much fun. I'll be honest. He might be my Kristaps Porzingis. Amen Thompson like could end up being like what the Knicks fans' reaction was to Kristaps Porzingis or Tingus Pingus. I think I could be very, very wrong, and I am all the way on the other side than what started. Call me a doubter, call me a fake fan. I'm not one to just blindly believe every decision that the front office makes is a good one, but I'm also very much open to being wrong when I dislike a decision because I was very much not a fan of the Fred Van Vliet, and it's looking like, yeah, it's an overpay, but like at least it's a bridge to give Amen like some breathing room. And honestly, right now he's our power forward. um, Jabari Smith is looking solid. I was not a huge fan of him, and honestly, like it's heartbreaking when you watch Paulo Banchero just cook. The Magic are fun. Gosh, like I want to be the fun team, and at least we're not the Pistons, and at least we're not the Wizards, so I can live with that. But like, don't let them get in the plan. Like it's the same thing with Texas A&M basketball. Don't let them get in the plan because I'm going to be delusional. I'm going to get my hopes up. But with Jalen Green playing the way that he is, oh my lord, we're so due for a 50 ball with him. Like Jalen Green is like we are so due for a 50 piece from him by the end of these 2 weeks. Like if there was a world, this is not betting advice where you could just be like, hey, this guy's gonna maybe hit 50 within the next 2 weeks. I would bet the house and probably lose it because it's not betting advice on Jalen Green because the dude has just been getting so close to the career high. It's become like a running bit on Twitter. Um, it's just heartbreaking knowing Sengun. And the thing is, Sengun wants to play at a slower pace. It seems like Jalen Green wants to be a little bit more free running, and you can mesh the two. Ime, I think, would be able to do that. And thank God the Rockets didn't trade for Mikal Bridges. Thank God. Because that would have just been so bad. I like all that player movement. Speaking of player movement, not to hard pivot into college football, but I did want to get this take off before the end of the day. Um, the Caden Proctor thing is rumored to not be the biggest thing that happens once this spring transfer portal window opens. You may ask, well, what are you talking about? I don't have any sources on this. I've read people and like watched the shows and everyone that has connections, and everyone isn't saying any names, but everyone that has sources is at least giving out the same, not like, acknowledgement of the Caden Proctor thing is not going to be the biggest thing within a month. And some people may say, well, I mean, it's not the biggest thing right now, but like if you're following the transfer portal, what they're saying is he's not going to be the biggest name that does something like this. There's like a warning that like it's not like, I guess it's like, I'm not going to compare it to LeBron joining Miami, but like it just kind of opens the floodgates for other teams as if the floodgates were not already open. No player is safe on your roster. Like, I guess if you feel good, like really comfortable with Cam Ward because he almost went to the NFL and then decided Miami, sure. Yeah, he's safe. But like Caleb Downs, there's a lot of smoke with him going back to Alabama. He was on that trip with Caden Proctor. It would not shock me if he went back. I think it was a very much a big knee-jerk reaction once Saban left, and it seemed like it wasn't something that was super, super planned, that these guys would just leave. I could see a world where Julian Sayin goes back to Alabama. There's like, and it's to say that there's a lot of guys, and it's not just guys going back to Alabama, but there's just a lot of players that very easily could go to other teams. Like the spring transfer portal window is where guys have now seen some of the players that have moved in the fall camp, or not, like in the fall window, kind of get an idea of them. And then spring football, it's like, all right, we're adding these guys, or this is going to be a weakness of our team. And that's when desperation kicks in, and that's when the pocketbooks on the larger programs really start to open up as, hey, listen, we've watched our secondary get torched in very early practices. Guys are coming in overweight. This is either we go and try to fix this problem, whether that's tampering or whether that's a guy that hopped in the portal. We either go fix this, drop a bag, and try to get him in and get him caught up over the summer, or we will have this as a weakness most likely. And that's where the desperation comes in for the spring portal. And I really, if you are a fan of these top programs, if someone's moving fishy, it could be a bad look. It could be bad. Caleb Downs is like my one big prediction. I think a good quarterback in a loaded quarterback room could end up leaving. I'd look at potentially a guy at like Ole Miss. Hell, like even Texas A&M, I could see some guys leaving. But I would have no clue where. Like Florida has had a lot of smoke. Georgia's probably going to produce a guy that hops in the portal that is very talented. Like, I would just be aware, kind of like look around, see if anyone's moving a little weird, because that portal can bite you, and it could be a key piece. But with that being said, thank you so much for watching Rush the Field episode number 7. If you have watched up till this point, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to listen, or wherever you may be. Leave a like, leave a sub. Almost butchered that, but trying to be authentic and real and truly build up this brand in this community. Leave a follow on all other socials. They'll be linked into the bio. But also, more importantly, if you're going to go anywhere, go to the email down below and leave a question. We'll be answering questions on this show once they start flooding in. So thank you so much for watching, and have a blessed day.